Hello, all. Welcome to my podcast, The American Dream. In 30-minute episodes, we will hear from successful Turkish professionals about their journey from Turkey to the USA. My objective is to inspire young people in Turkey who consider a similar path. My guest today is Gokhan Uzunbaş, and I believe he's a software engineer and architect who moved to the US. We'll delve into his experiences, challenges, and valuable advice for young Turkish individuals who consider a similar path. Hello, are you ready?
Yes, ready, very exciting.
And before we start, I'm going to ask some icebreaker questions. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being terrified of public speaking, 10 being born a storyteller, how would you rate yourself?
I would say like 5 in the middle.
Mm-hmm. And what is one Turkish food you miss the most?
I think it's doner. It's like a good quality doner.
And what surprised you the most about American work culture?
The work culture, the surprising one, I wouldn't say shock, but surprising one was everybody was taking it very serious for their work. That's actually very impressive for me.
And what is a funny language barrier you encountered?
I don't remember anyone to be specific.
Any slang?
Nah, no.
Okay. And now, Gokhan, can you give our listeners a quick glimpse into a typical workday for you?
Typical workday. Actually, this has changed a lot after pandemic because as a software engineer, the companies that I work for has allowed me to work from home, which gives quite flexibility. So to start with, I think I would say for a day of work, it's just after a good breakfast, I start sitting in front of my computer pretty much. It starts with some planning, remembering some tasks to do, and then a lot of coding during the day and a lot of meetings as well.
Yeah. Is it all types of languages and what's your experience?
It can change actually. Some days I think it can go all the maybe 3 different coding languages, including Python, like SQL, and then some custom designed languages that we use inside the company.
And for young Turks who are majoring in CS, would you advise them to learn all possible languages that they can, or just one language to be mastered at?
No, I would suggest actually understanding and learning the basics, the fundamentals, because most likely in all different languages, if you know the fundamentals, the remaining part is just syntax and some optimizations. Especially with the recent developments in machine learning, in artificial intelligence, I think it's getting less important on the knowledge of the specific language syntax, and then it is more about foundational understanding and knowledge.
Do you think CS is a potential future career aspect for young Turks to consider, or do you think it's dying out with ChatGPT and all?
No, I don't think so. It's definitely that's definitely the future. I mean, it will remain as one of the most most important work areas.
Mm-hmm. And when did the idea of moving to the US first take root? Was it a gradual process or a sudden decision? And what factors ultimately led you to take this step?
So it was in 2008, 2009 when I first decided to go to US. At that time, I was doing a master degree in Sabancı University. Some of my master advisors they have recommended me to go for an internship in US. To have a good experience, to have a serious work experience, and it was mostly research oriented. And I went for that, and I was really amazed and impressed with the life, the way people work. They can do their research, and then I decided to go for a graduate study, like a PhD study in US after that. That's how it started actually. Like it wasn't like a very sudden decision, but it wasn't like a long-term planning as either.
Mm-hmm. And how did you get the PhD opportunity in America? Did they come to you? Did you go to them? How did that exactly work?
I went to them.
Yeah, obviously, but
Yeah. I mean, applying for grad school is a big deal. It's not easy. Like getting acceptance is not easy. I applied for them. I actually visited those schools when I was in US in person. So I went there. I went to schools. I talked to professors that I'm interested. I sent them emails. I had some online conversations like we are having now with you. And then that was my application process. Yeah.
Mhm. And before making that move, what steps did you take to bridge the gap between your Turkish qualifications and the US job market or like US colleges?
Like the first time I came, I was applying for grad school, and I started after my acceptance. There wasn't much gap, to be honest. Like with the education that I was getting from Istanbul Technical University and the Sabancı universities, like I like technically knowledge base, I didn't see like a huge gap, but there was a little bit of gap in the attitude and the like the feelings of people, like the confidence, basically, I would say. So I think the education in Turkey is not bad. It is almost equal to the ones in US up to a point, but then for some certain practical aspects, like some application aspects, I think we need Turkish universities need to improve themselves a little bit more. They need to have this confidence and encouragement to, achieve the bigger things. For example, making publications in the top tier conferences. Like they should target for those, and they should work very hard for those because they can do it. So one thing I realized that like in Turkey, when I was in Turkey, when I was trying to publish some publications in conferences, we were taking it a little bit modest, like we were targeting like easier conferences rather than the top tier ones. But here in US, everybody just aims for the top tier. They don't actually go for others. So this was a big difference. So this is basically the attitude. Like that was the only gap, I would say.
I see. And you said when you're moving to America, you talked to professors and like you networked. How big of a deal do you think that is for young Turks moving to the US?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. You can think of it like, oh, maybe it's like people might hesitate to do that, but actually, it's not a big deal. Like I think professors are especially they are very open to these kind of conversations because they have been through similar processes, so they know how important for these young people. And if they are really looking for some new hire, like new team members, they will definitely be interested. So I think young people should be confident and should have this encouragement to reach out to them and try and try. I mean, I don't say it is very easy because sometimes you send an email and your email get lost. But if you are doing it at the right time with the right person, there is a very high chance that there will be some outcome of that interaction.
And how did your Turkish identity influence your career path in the US? Did you face any challenges related to your cultural background or expectations?
Not really. I think if you are good, like you have you have opportunities. Like you are given chances, so you should just take it.
And yeah, and around that question, like, did you do CS as a major part of your, university and like school in Turkey as well, or did you switch later in America? And do you think it's easy to that switch? If so,
Yes. It's actually a good question. So my first degree was on telecommunication engineering in Istanbul Technical University. It is like a subcategory of like electronics engineering, but it's more focused on the telecommunication side, like signal processing and wireless communication and things like that. And then in Sabancı University, I had a degree on electronics, but this was mostly on signal processing as well, like digital signal processing and things like that. So it wasn't anything about the hardware or any like circuit design or anything like that. It was always on the like more abstract, more theoretical side of the electronic engineering. And eventually it included a lot of coding, algorithm design and things like that. And then when I came to US, I was mostly interested in computer vision, machine learning, and then which was strongly correlated with coding, computer science. So I decided to do a PhD in computer science.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. But I learned a lot during this, because I had to like touch base with a lot of different aspects of the engineering domain between electronics and computer science.
And for someone considering a career move to the US, what are the top three things they should prioritize in the process or like the CV?
This is a hard question. I mean, first of all, first of all, I don't think you can suddenly decide that, okay, I want to do this, and then like without having a very weak education history, you can't come up suddenly with a strong resume, So this is like a gradual thing that you should have been like developing over like long time, starting from high school maybe. And actually, my like biggest recommendation would be to high school people, high school students, because in back then in our times, high school was important, and people were working very hard in the high school to get into a good university, to best university. But I think this thing has shifted a little bit. Now I think these days, even in high school, students are more capable of doing things that they will do only in university in our times. Like, for example, I'm getting a lot of like interns, and those interns are, some of them are from high school. So in my time, high school high school students were not getting into companies to have internships. So now we can get like interns from high school, and they are doing very interesting, very challenging projects like we wouldn't imagine back then. Um, so I think the high school students should start thinking of their careers, like, and they should have this confidence to do like good stuff, good projects. They should not just use their time in summer, for example, very effectively. Because during the winter time, during school time, I don't think they have enough time to do those kind of things. But summer is very important to actually explore like things that they're interested in, especially like coding wise, I would say. Like, because obviously if you are interested in biology or chemistry, you need a lab. So you don't have a lab at home. But if it is about like computer science, engineering, you can do a lot actually. So they should consider doing that kind of like interesting work. And then like they should understand what they want really. Like, because one of the things I think this probably still the existence in Turkey is that people do their choices based on their grades and rankings. It was actually similar for me, to be honest. Like, I have to admit that. So it was only when I was in university that I started to understand what is coding, what is electronic engineering and things like that. I didn't have too much idea, but I was lucky to, grasp those things quickly, understand, and then really, digest and continue and build things on top of that quickly. But if I had known more about like what it means, like being an engineer, like what it means, like what's the work lifestyle of a person who is working for a software engineering industry, then I would actually probably be much more confident, and I would have more structured like progression on my education in university and then my master and PhD degrees. Yeah.
I see. And finally, how did your work ethic or career goals change after moving to the US? And how did the hustle culture surprise you?
I see. Actually, I like the work ethic in US a lot, because especially in the companies that I work. I don't know the others, obviously, but for the ones that I work for, I really like the review process to basically measure performance of people, like and using the time very effectively during work time is very important and very impressive for me. And it also adds a lot to your like the quality of your life, because when you spend your time good in the work, then you can have more time for your social life as well out of the work. And then if you know that like you will be rewarded when you work hard, it actually makes you happy, and it makes you even more hard worker, because like I think if otherwise, like if other political things has been around, and you were not rewarded for your work, that will be devastating.
And what do you mean by like rewarded for your work? Like promotions, stuff like that?
Right. Promotions, like compensation, bonuses, those kind of things. Like it is mostly like very fair, based on my current experience. And I think that was one of the critical things, like, I mean, whether you value like compensation a lot or not a lot, but still, I mean, regardless, it is one of the things that like you can fairly evaluate people, right?
Yeah,
So
and lastly, this might not be the biggest importance to young Turks who are moving abroad, but what about like the vacation days and like paid days off? Do you think that's fair compensation as well here, or is it usually the pay that's more fair?
I mean, in general, in US, people compared to other parts of the world, for example, Europe and Turkey, I think there is less vacation time in US. Compensation is much better than other parts of the world. It is true that like even on vacations, you can go on a vacation as if you are working in a US company. Not like in Europe, for example. I know that in Europe, people take just 30 days and they're off the grid. Nobody tries to reach out to anyone, etc. It's not the case in US. So don't really expect to have that kind of like flexibility as in US or as in Turkey. But if you are in a good company and if you have some like senior level, you can easily, I mean, you can easily take like how much like vacation time you want to take. I mean, I never remember any single time that, hey, I don't have enough like vacation days. I don't remember anything like that. I was able to go to Turkey for 3-4 weeks every year, basically, and this doesn't include other things that I do in US or in other parts of the country.
And That'll be all for today, and I'd like to thank you very much for sharing your inspiring story with us and providing a story to be modeled after. And thank you for this opportunity for the listeners and me to learn about your career. Thank you.
And you're welcome. It was also fun for me. Thanks for your time too.
Thank you.